Before you get to the gleaming halls of Olympus, before all the heroes and monsters we know and love, there was the beginning. And let me tell you, the beginning was not some gentle, beautiful act of creation. No, it was pure violence, jealousy, and fear. And that line, right there, from Hesiod's Theogony, it sets the stage perfectly for the absolutely brutal family drama that kicks off the entire cosmos. So let's just dive right into it. We are going to unpack the shocking, bloody succession myth that is literally the foundation of the Greek universe. And just to be clear, this is not some heartwarming story of benevolent creators. This is a raw, epic saga of tyrants and rebels, of fathers and sons locked in this vicious cycle of bloodshed, all for control of everything. Okay, so our story begins with the original power couple, Gaia, who is the Earth, and Uranus, the starry heaven, who, well, covered her completely. They were the parents of the very first generation of gods. But yeah, this was not a happy family, not even close. And you just have to appreciate the sheer power being born into the cosmos here. First, you get the 12 Titans. They're going to be the first pantheon of gods. But then, you get these beings of just terrifying, almost unimaginable power. The Cyclopes, who are basically masters of thunder and lightning. And then the Hecatoncheires, the 100-handers. I mean, just try to picture that for a second. Monstrous beings with 100 arms and 50 heads. Absolute units of pure strength. And this right here is the crucial point. Uranus didn't slowly grow to fear his kids. The text is clear. He hated them from the very second they were born. There was no fatherly love, no pride, just a tyrant's paranoia. He looked at their incredible power not as his legacy, but as a direct threat to his absolute rule. I mean, the depth of his cruelty is just staggering. Think about what is physically happening here. He takes his own children, these powerful beings, and shoves them right back into the body of their mother, Gaia. She is literally being crushed from the inside, groaning from the pain of carrying her own imprisoned kids. And Uranus? The text says he took pleasure in it. This isn't just tyranny, it is a profound cosmic violation that is just begging for a rebellion. But you can only push someone so far, right? A tyrant's cruelty can only be tolerated for so long. And the first cosmic rebellion, it isn't sparked by a simple lust for power. It's sparked by a mother's unimaginable agony. So Gaia, the Earth herself, is in so much pain that she finally decides she has had enough. She comes up with a plan, what Hesiod literally calls a nasty trick, to get revenge on her husband and finally free her children. This is the moment where creation itself decides to fight back against its oppressor. So what does she do? She makes a weapon. From deep within herself, she brings forth this gray adamant, a mythical, unbreakable metal, and forges it into a massive, sharp-toothed sickle. And then she presents this terrifying thing to her sons, who are still trapped inside her, and she asks a truly chilling question. Who among you has the guts to help me punish your wicked father? And at first, there's just silence. All the Titans are seized by fear. I mean, who would dare raise a hand against their father, the literal ruler of the heavens? Well, only one. The youngest of them, Cronus, who's described as a crooked schemer. He steps up. He tells his mom he's not afraid. After all, he says, Uranus began it by his ugly behavior. Gaia is thrilled. She sets an ambush. And that night, as the great heaven descends, wanting to be with Earth, spreading himself all over her, Cronus strikes. From his hiding place, he reaches out with one hand, grabs his father, and with the other he uses that adamant sickle to commit the ultimate act of betrayal. It is swift, it is brutal, and it changes the entire cosmos forever. But this act of violence, it doesn't just end there. It's also an act of creation, which is a theme you see a lot in these myths. As the drops of Uranus's blood rain down on Gaia, new beings just spring into existence. And they are beings born of violence. The Erinyes are the Furies, who are goddesses of vengeance. The great giants, who are basically massive warriors. The very Earth is now seeded with retribution and conflict. What is so incredible, though, is that this one singular act of brutality gives birth to both absolute horror and breathtaking beauty. So while the land is spawning all these creatures of vengeance, the sea, where the severed parts were thrown, is about to produce something entirely different.
And this is where you really see the strange, brutal poetry of Greek myth. As the pieces drifted on the waves, a white foam, or aphros in Greek, started to grow around them, and out of that foam, a girl formed and stepped ashore. And this was Aphrodite, the goddess of love and smiles and whispers and sweet pleasure, an immortal beauty born from the single most violent act you can possibly imagine.
So Cronus has done it. He's overthrown his father, he's freed his siblings. He is the new king of the gods, the great liberator. But, as the saying goes, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. The liberator very quickly becomes the new tyrant, haunted by the exact same fear that consumed his own father. And talk about irony, Cronus gets a prophecy from his own mutilated parents, Gaia and Uranus. They tell him his destiny is sealed. Just like he overthrew his father, he is fated to be overthrown by his own son. The cycle of violent succession, they tell him, is destined to continue. Cronus, the crooked schemer, he refuses to accept this. He decides he's going to be the one to break the cycle. Not by being a better father, no, but by making sure he has no children who can rise up against him in the first place. So he watches his wife, the Titaness Rhea, just waiting. Rhea gives birth to their first child, the goddess Hestia. And as the newborn reaches her mother's knees, Cronus makes his move.
What Cronus does next is it's almost unthinkable. He takes his newborn daughter and he swallows her whole, imprisoning her inside his own body. He does this for one reason, so that no one but him could ever hold the royal station among the gods. It's the ultimate act of paranoid control, literally destroying the future to preserve his power in the present. And it just keeps happening. Demeter is born, and he swallows her. Hera, his future queen, swallowed. Hades, the future lord of the underworld, swallowed. And Poseidon, the shaker of the earth, swallowed. 5 of his own children consumed by their paranoid father, and their mother Rhea can only watch in absolute horror. At this point, Rhea is just drowning in grief. The pain of seeing child after child devoured by her husband is unbearable. But just like her mother Gaia's agony led to a rebellion, so too will Rhea's. The cycle is about to be broken, not by force, but by a clever deception. So, pregnant with her 6th child, Zeus, Rhea is at her breaking point. And who does she go to for help? Her own parents, Gaia and Uranus, the very beings her husband betrayed. She begs them for a plan, any plan, to save her last child and to finally make Cronus pay for what he did. And they agree. They sent her to the island of Crete, where, in the dead of night, she gives birth to the child of the prophecy, Zeus. She hides him away, deep in a cave, safe from his father's insatiable hunger. And then she takes a large stone, wraps it up in swaddling clothes, and gets ready for the ultimate trick. The audacity of this plan is just fantastic. Rhea presents this swaddled rock to Cronus, the great king of the gods. And he, totally blinded by his own paranoia and arrogance, he just takes it in his hands and swallows it whole. He thinks he's done it. He thinks he's consumed his final child and secured his reign forever.
Cronus is content. He has no clue that a cold, heavy stone is sitting in his gut, a monument to his own foolishness. He has no idea that far away, the child of prophecy, his son Zeus, isn't just alive, he's growing stronger every day, destined to bring him down and begin a whole new age, the age of the Olympians. The real question is, how exactly does one hidden baby take down the king of the entire universe? Well, that's a story for another time.